Hello, my name is Kerr-Peterson. Thank you very much for coming all the way here to listen to some of the sessions. I lead up the EMEA app dev team here based in Dublin. It's a bit of a confusing title. What exactly we do is work with pure play app developers on app promotion and re-engagement. So probably some of the most popular apps that you're using, some of the taxi apps, Halo for example, would be one of the types of clients we work with. So generally, clients who are making the majority of their revenue through their app. There's been a lot of debate over the past couple of years between apps and mobile websites and how the two are either complementary or can't work together at all. And I think from the previous session on UX, you saw that these worlds are moving closer and closer together. And it's no longer really a debate about whether you should be doing one or the other, or both, or just one. It's more about trying to understand what your users are doing and how best to enrich their experience. The real difficulty at the moment from an ads perspective is that your mobile sites are cookie-based and your apps are based on device IDs. So when it comes to tracking, monetization, advertising, it becomes very, very complicated to track between the two. But we expect that going forward, there will be convergence of this, making it a lot easier to justify why you should be investing in one or the other or both. So what are the primary reasons for building an app? It's a conversation I don't have that frequently because most of my clients are app-first clients. So there's no need to convince them that an app is the right thing to do. So what I did is I spent a bit of time thinking about how I would explain to somebody who might not have an app why it would be important. And the micro moment I'm going to talk about happened 2 weekends ago for me. Last weekend I had a micro moment. I'm South African, so we lost to Japan. That was a very different micro moment to the one that I'm about to discuss with you. I was driving from here to the west coast of Ireland, and about 66 kilometers, not about, exactly, 66 kilometers from here is a petrol station, gas station, called Junction 14 Mayfield. And I never heard of it before. I'd done the trip a few times. And we stopped off there. I wanted to fill up the car and get a coffee. I walked into the gas station, took a right, went to the coffee stand, ordered a coffee, cappuccino, and a pecan slice. And I waited in the queue. And when I was waiting in the queue, I looked around, and there were just posters everywhere and flyers encouraging the patrons of that gas station to download and install the Junction 14 Mayfield's app. And to me, this was strange. The only time I've ever proactively searched for a gas station or petrol station is when I've been running out of petrol. And I've had to find somewhere to go immediately. I have no loyalty to petrol stations or gas stations. So to me, it was a very foreign concept. Traditionally offline business, promoting an app within their shop. So what I did is, while waiting for my coffee, I just watched a few of the patrons behind me. And a gentleman, 3 people back, was looking at his phone, so I was watching him in particular. And he got to the server. The server asked him how his week in Dublin had been, and he was looking forward to going home to see his family. He said his week had been good, and yes, he was looking forward to seeing his family. He then looked at his phone again, and looked up and asked for that special for today with a chocolate muffin. And it was at that point I realized that for Junction 14 Mayfield, there are people like me who drive past every now and then and might stop. But there are people that make that journey every single week, maybe every single day. And for Junction 14 Mayfield, it was an opportunity to engage with these users and to build loyalty with them in a business that traditionally there hasn't necessarily been much loyalty towards gas stations, just a place where you can stop off. So by creating this app and encouraging users to download it, they were able to enhance that experience for their loyal users that were coming back and encourage them to enjoy being there and being part of that brand. And they were doing this through giving them offers. I didn't think that many people would have maybe downloaded that app, so I went onto the Play Store when I got home, and in the range of 1,000 to 5,000 people had downloaded the Play app, and similar to for iTunes. So you've got, let's say, roughly 6,000 people with that app on their phone. You've got a location setting based on GPS. So as soon as people get within a particular range, a push notification goes, telling you what the special for the day is. And it's a great way for them to build loyalty, to encourage users to interact with the brand and to keep coming back. It also brings people away from all the competitors that are along the same route who might be offering the same things. So for me, it was a fascinating revelation. And it made me think really about web-based businesses. I looked through or some of your websites at least, just to try and understand a bit about what you do. But loyalty and the frequency in which users are coming to your site is a great indication as to whether or not an app may be applicable for your business. Apps enrich an experience, and if you've got a loyal base that keeps coming, keep interacting, keep purchasing, then the likelihood is you could probably build and enrich that experience by developing an app, if it is right for your business and right for the consumer. And once you've developed it for your most loyal users, you can use that same experience to encourage new users to perhaps purchase with you, if you're a finance app, trade with you. But it gives you a lot more leverage to personalize those experiences. The two key reasons, I know there are 4 on here, but the 2 underlying principles as to why people tend to develop apps. The first is speed. You can very easily enhance the speed in which a user engages with your business by developing an app that has a very streamlined process. The load times are very quick. You can do it offline. And the second part is being able to segment your users to focus on loyalty and loyal users. So if you know that a particular cohort of users are coming into your app and interacting frequently, you could perhaps segment those users and offer them something different when they come, or give them push notifications, giving them a larger discount, or another offering that maybe is only exclusive to those particular loyal users. So it's a great way of engaging with users and enhancing their experience. But it's speed and loyalty are the 2 things that apps really help drive over and above mobile sites. 2 of the most common questions we get from non-pure play app developers is how long it takes to actually build an app and how much it costs. You all have websites, you know this is a very difficult question to actually answer. There are a few caveats. When you're building a native app, you are largely building it or having to build it for Android, iOS, potentially even Windows or Amazon. So the code base and the time it goes into coding these apps becomes a bit more extensive. You also have to maintain them, which once again is a bit more of a complicated process doing it across multiple apps. So it does take a bit more time investment. And how much should it cost? You can buy an off-the-shelf app that's templated for a few €100. You can spend 25 grand on a fairly advanced app. You can go upwards of $500,000 if you want to have a Game of War type app, which is highly rich content over a gig in size. So it once again varies rapidly, extensively, depending on what you're trying to achieve. So once again, it's not now just choosing between mobile web and apps or a mix of the 2. It's really trying to understand what your consumers and users are doing, what platforms they're using, and how best you can enrich that experience. And once you understand that, then you can decide whether an app is the right move for your business or not. So it's going to play a video by a company called Jack Threads, part of the Thrillist Group. This is a company that has gone from content generation and engaging with their users on a web-based business to a company that is now an Android-first developer company. So if we can play the video, please.
We started as a media business and built up a big group of readers who took the recommendations that we made to heart and actually acted upon them. We acquired a small business called Jack Threads, which sort of served as the supply side to the demand that we were creating through our content, and have since built Jack Threads into the fastest growing men's e-commerce business on the web. My name is Ben Lear. I'm the co-founder of Thrillist Media Group. Android was growing so quickly, we said we need to give this a real shot. We need to build something truly native, and we need to work with the folks at Android to figure out what that's supposed to look like, and we're really happy we did.
Since we redesigned the Jack Threads app, we've found that 30% of new signups through Android are actually becoming daily active users, which is an engagement metric that's pretty unparalleled. And not only that, but our Android users are 2 times as likely to sign up as any other platform.
We tend to be developing Android first at this point, and so the 2 things that really move the needle for us. One is an ability to A/B test in real time. What that does is it lets us focus on engagement, lets us really get into the data and make sure that the changes we're making to the app are the right ones.
The developer console provides tools for testing that you really can't get on any other platform. We can roll out a really cool idea we have to part of our users, see if it works. If it doesn't, roll back. If it does, go to everyone. And it's really allowed us to lead with Android and design wholeheartedly.
We're in 14 international markets right now. I think that there's a big opportunity to leverage Google's tools to provide a better experience for guys in those markets.
One of the biggest pain points we see in apps is getting users to enter their credit card information. Having that already available to our users is a service that is completely unparalleled.
Last year, we grew our Android sales by just short of 2,000%. And over the past 3 months, we've increased sales by just short of 500%. So we're showing really explosive growth there, and the numbers are not slowing down.
So overall, a very cool business that's made the transition to mobile apps. You might have picked up there, they spoke a lot about the build part of their experience with Google. And as part of an initiative here in EMEA, in Dublin specifically, what we've tried to do is make the experience for developers a lot smoother and a lot easier, because it is very new for a lot of companies and there are a lot of stages to developing an app. So when we look at the general life cycle of building an app and promoting it, there are 4 stages: build, grow, engage, and monetize. And at Google, we've got the ability to help developers throughout the full phase. As Jack Threads just spoke mostly about, it's the build phase. Will and Julian, who will present after me, will specifically focus on grow and engage. So I'm just going to quickly touch on monetize. Monetize is part of our AdMob network. So AdMob is the equivalent of AdSense, but for apps specifically. What we find from a gaming side of things, for example, roughly 5% of users actually make an in-app purchase. So you're not monetizing the other 95% of the people within your app. But they do contribute to the community, to the engagement within the app. So what some gaming clients do is they implement in-app advertising to try and monetize the base of the users. The same can be said for e-commerce apps or apps where you're trying to build engagement with a brand, but you might not have the functionality incorporated to make a purchase or to actually have any form of transaction. So a way of easily monetizing the base is to introduce in-app advertising. A lot of the most powerful format of which is video interstitials. It also probably explains why my presentation is slightly more heavily weighted towards video. You'll see that I've got way too many videos, I think, in this section. But what we've seen from this is since the launch of AdMob as an in-app advertising format, over $1 billion has been paid to developers. It's in over 650,000 apps globally. So it really is one of the largest in-app advertising networks and allows you to monetize a base of users that'll help you fund the app. So the next video is by Backflip Studios. It's a company that is integrated and used the vast majority of the products that we've highlighted here in order to grow their business and to scalably reach more users. So if you don't mind playing the video.
I feel like I am living out my 12-year-old dream, which is to have created an interesting gaming company, and we get to create product that people care about and that resonates from an emotional standpoint with a very broad range of folks. Backflip Studios started about 6 years ago with a small group of people, and we went to market quickly. We started it with the idea that mobile was going to change sort of the landscape and ecosystem of gaming. So we created all these free, engaging, casual games, and we had this huge audience, but at the time, we weren't really sure how we were going to monetize it and how we were going to create a sort of a sustainable gaming company out of that.
When you're creating a mobile business, you have to focus on the stability and you have to be able to scale that operation. Without Google, we would have to work with about 20 different partners to be able to accomplish what we do today.
We use the Android platform in addition to App Engine, and we've really seen our sort of live products be able to scale with the server infrastructure and back-end infrastructure of App Engine.
We then monetize those games with in-app purchases, virtual goods, as well as advertising revenue. And we use DFP to run our internal ad network, and then we monetize using AdMob.
In order to do that, we have to acquire users at a very low cost and at a very large scale.
So we know that 90 to 95% of our users are not going to spend within the game. Google allows us to segment our users in order to maximize the value we can get from folks who are spending in the game, as well as advertising revenue from folks who are not spending in the game. On the Engage side, we have Google Cloud Storage to scale our game as it grows. We post our game in the Google Play Store.
Being able to target users based off of demographics, spend behavior, makes it so we have a better relationship with the customers we're trying to reach. And AdWords is the first platform that we have used that allows us to target directly customers who are guaranteed to have made a purchase.
The idea that Google has a number of different tools that we can leverage, it's allowed us to sort of manage a portfolio of varying products with different revenue models on each.
Google's product roadmap is really impressive, and it's really become the Swiss Army knife for us in terms of monetization, and we're excited to see what else they're going to come out with.
So that's specifically, obviously, a game developer. But what we've found within this industry in particular, and a lot of other industries, is gaming has really led the forefront of this app innovation. So it's a great company and a great industry to learn from. They're consistently pushing the boundaries. An interesting app, we're just going to touch on design a bit as well. I know it was part of the UX presentation that you were watching earlier. But this particular app, Trello, is an online, it's a tool for online project management. And what they've found is, as they've developed as a company and as they've learned from their users, they've started piecemeal adding to their app. So they're adding different functionality and different features. It's a free app. So what they were really concerned with is user engagement. But what they found is, as they started adding different pieces, yes, the functionality was great, but the look and feel and the design was very difficult for users to follow. So what they did is they decided to implement the material design principles, the principles that you heard of a bit earlier, to really focus on a single typography, clean lines, and easy to use flow. So that when they were adding to the app or adapting it, they could follow the same principles, making the development of the app a lot easier to hand over and to manage. What they found is that by doing this, having a clear user flow, they were able to double the engagement within the app. And that's something that is vital when developing an e-commerce app or an app where you're looking for users to follow a flow. If you keep iterating on that app and developing it, which I'm sure you would, having an easy-to-use design principle is a great place to start. So I know we saw a few static images of it, but I'm going to show you another video of what material design looks like in principle, what the look and feel should be like. And when you're talking to designers, if you're trying to develop your app, having the idea of material design there as a base as to which to start the conversation is a great way and a great platform to start. So we don't mind playing the video. So as you can see, the look and feel is consistent across devices. The video hopefully gives you a bit more insight into what that actually looks like on your phone. If you've got Android apps and you use the Google Calculator, you'll be able to see the movement and the cross-fading as well, which is great. before I hand over to William and Joy, who will talk about two of the biggest challenges that app developers face. The first is discovery of their app within a very crowded and competitive landscape, and engagement as well, as to how to drive engagement. I wanted to let you know that as of Q4 as well, we have traditionally been focusing on pure play app developers, but as of Q4, we'll be supporting your account managers here at Google to help you with app promotion and app discovery and engagement. So if you have an interest in promoting your app, you have an app, please let your account managers know and we'll be able to support as a team. We're also running the workshops tomorrow, so my team will be there. So if you have any questions or if you want to throw a few ideas around, feel free to join. I'm going to hand over to Julian now, who's going to talk about app discovery. We've launched some pretty cool products in the last couple of months, search ads and play being one of the main ones. And this has really promoted or boosted non-gaming apps within this ecosystem. So if we can just play the video and hand over to Julian. Thanks.
Okay, so after Bruce's presentation, you might have decided that an app makes total sense for your business. So you go ahead, you hire a developer, and you build your very first own app. Well done. Now what you're going to experience next is sort of the first challenge that comes with having an app, which is how do you get people to actually download and use your app? If you look at the different app stores that are out there, both on Android and on iOS, what you will see is that there's 1 million different apps, or more than 1 million different apps on each of these app stores, but 60% of the apps have never been downloaded. So nobody has ever used these apps. So clearly discovery is an issue. You will need to find a way to promote your app, to get users to download and use it. Now, reaching people on mobile can be a little tricky because of the different user behavior. So what you've heard since this morning probably is that instead of a constant usage flow that you used to from desktop, is you have all these tiny fragmented micro moments throughout the day where people use their mobile phone. So you have to be in that exact micro moment to reach your users. A micro moment might take place in the Play Store where people are looking for new apps. It might take place on Google.com where people are looking for information while they are waiting for their cappuccino at Starbucks. It might also be that people are spending their time in other apps. So we've heard there's 1 million different apps on each platform, and people spend a lot of time in these apps. Might be a micro moment that's happening on the mobile web. People are reading news on the mobile web. Or it might be users who are watching videos on YouTube. So you need to make sure that you are there in these precise micro moments to reach users and get the message across that you have an app and that users should download that app. The good news is we have a solution for all these different micro moments so you can reach your customers. And I would like to talk a bit more about these different channels that we offer. The first channel I'm going to touch is YouTube. You're probably all familiar with our YouTube ad format for desktop. YouTube for a mobile app or for mobile app promotion is pretty much the same concept, except that it's happening on mobile devices only, obviously. And the other difference is that you have a small companion banner below the video. So a small banner below the video with some additional information and with a download link that leads directly into the respective app stores. So YouTube is interesting because you have a video, and a video allows you to engage with users. It allows you to get the message across that you actually have an app, that there is an app that people can download. But it also allows you to explain what the app is about. So a user, once he clicks on the download button, he has a pretty good picture of what your app is about and what you can do with that app. So user quality, like the user engagement after he downloads it, tends to be high. If you already have a YouTube channel, that's great. You can start promoting your app to users who have previously watched videos on your YouTube channel. You can promote it to similar users, or you might reach out to the more than 1 billion users who use YouTube on a monthly basis. So YouTube really is a great channel for high volume of qualified installs. Next up is our display network for mobile. Again, you might be familiar with our display network on the desktop. On mobile, it consists of two parts. The first part being mobile websites. The other part are mobile apps. So as I've mentioned before, there's 1 million different apps on each of these app stores, and people spend a lot of time in these different apps. It might be gaming, it might be business apps, it might be shopping apps, social networks, whatever. There's a lot of time spent in these apps. So you want to make sure that you reach people while they are using these apps. And this is where our product for the display network comes in. The interesting thing is that in this case, you can use what we call a conversion optimizer, which is a smart algorithm which will detect which users are most likely to download your app based on the user behavior data that we have. So all you set is a specific target cost per install, and our algorithms will automatically do the job and target the right users. So it's a great way to reach a maximum volume of installs at a fixed target CPI. Last, but certainly not least, our core product, which is search. Again, slightly different than what you're used to from the desktop, because in this case, it doesn't only include google.com, it also includes the Play Store directly. It's pretty much the same concept. You can target specific keywords that people look up and be there with your app. As you can see on the screenshot behind me, the format looks slightly different as well. So you have the app logo integrated in the ad. You have a call to action button, and the rating from the App Store is automatically included. And the interesting part about search is that there's a clear search intent. So people are actively looking for your app or for the solution that you are offering. So the user quality from that channel tends to be really, really high. And this is something that only we can offer you. So there's a lot of other ad networks for apps out there, but nobody can offer you this search intent that search delivers. So again, a great way to tightly targeted installs at a low CPI. So to sum up, we have 3 channels, 4 if you divide Google and the App Store. And all of them have slightly different use cases. So as I said, YouTube is great for engagement. The display network is great if you want to reach a lot of users. And search is great because you have that search intent. But if you decide to build a campaign for each of these different channels, it can be a bit of work. So you need to create a campaign for each of those. You need to come up with an ad group structure, think of keywords, creatives, et cetera, et cetera. So it can be a bit of work. So I'm sure there's a couple of you out there who just want to promote their app in like the quickest and easiest way possible. So we've come up with a completely new product that combines all of these channels. And we call this Universal App Campaigns. At the moment, this is only available on Android. And essentially what it does is you have one campaign for all these different channels that I just mentioned. All you have to do is tell us which app you would like to promote, give us a couple of ideas about creatives and ad texts that you want to use, and tell us what the cost per install should be. And we do all the rest. It's all done automatically by our algorithms. So this is a completely new product, but we've tested this with a couple of clients around the world. I want to share one of the success stories that came out of that beta test. Linio is a shopping app out of Mexico, and they wanted to expand into new markets, but didn't want to spend too much time, keyword research, creatives, etc. So they went for universal app campaigns, and what they were able to achieve is they reached 10,000 new downloads within just 30 days at a CPI that was 20% lower than what they saw across all other channels. So it was a great way for them to expand into new markets without a lot of effort. So as I've mentioned, this is a new product. We're currently rolling this out, but if you talk to your account managers, they can whitelist you for this. So now that you managed to get a couple of users into your app, you come across the second big challenge of having an app, which is acquiring high-value users. What you will see sooner or later is that not all users have the same value for you. If you look at some statistics from the app stores, what you will see is that most apps are for free, and those that are for free usually monetize via in-app purchases. So there's kind of a free culture, if you want, for apps. So you need to make sure that you reach the right users who are actually going to spend money within your app so that the whole thing is ROI positive for you guys. In order to figure this out, I'd like to introduce a concept that we call lifetime value to you. For apps, the interesting thing is that you can track everything that a user does once he downloads the app for the whole lifetime that he uses the app. So a lifetime value, considering you are a small business, you have an online shop as well as an offline business. So what you could do to calculate that lifetime value is you measure all of the purchases that a user does within the app within 1 year after the download. But you could also look at offline sales that happen from that user. You might have a loyalty card in your app, or you might have coupons in your app. So you can measure those as well. On top of that, a thing to consider is that there's usually a word-of-mouth factor. So there's a viral effect. If people like your app, they're likely to tell their friends about it. So they might download it as well and spend money in the app as well. So overall, you can come up with a lifetime value, which will then help you to define what you can pay for an install. To measure this lifetime value, we'll need some sort of conversion tracking. You can do this with AdWords or with analytics, like on the desktop. But you can also use a third-party solution for this. So we work with a couple of different solutions for apps specifically. Once you figure this out, you can sort of identify and target different segments. So you will figure out that there are some users from some sources who spend a lot of time and money in your app. So you can afford to pay a higher cost per install for those. But then you might have some casual users as well. So you want to scale down the CPI for those. Overall, what we are usually seeing is that the search quality and the user engagement that's coming from our campaigns tends to be really high, with search being the channel that brings in the highest quality users. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Will now, who's going to cover a third big challenge that comes with mobile apps. Okay. Yeah.
Hi everyone. So you just saw with Bruce first why having an app can be very important for your business. Then you saw with Julian how to acquire some users and build a very high quality user base. But then you're going to face a final challenge, which is how do you make sure that the user you're going to acquire are going to be actively using your app and convert within your app. Just so that you understand this challenge, I'm going to show you two numbers which are very important to have in mind. So as you can see, almost 95% of the apps are abandoned after 1 month of use. And 20% of the apps are just used only once. So that's why when you look at these numbers, acquiring new users is very important, but also you will need to think and make sure that when you acquire these users, they're going to actively use them and they're going to convert into it. So what does it mean for this strategy? So it means that you will have to re-engage with these users and re-engage in a smart way, meaning that you will have to find the right moment to show the right message. So this is what we call the right micro moment. So you have different examples of micro moments. So for example, when people are on search, they're going to be looking for some experiences, and it's going to make sense for your business to show an ad related to this experience. Then some of your users will be looking for some specific products, and will be time for you to show them an ad so that they can make the purchase into your app. And finally, the micro moment can also happen when they are using other apps which are related to your business, and this will be time as well for you to show an ad and to make sure they come back to your app. But first thing, when you start a re-engagement strategy, is you have to make sure that you have one feature which is very critical for you, which is the deep linking. So what is deep linking? By default, when you have a mobile app, the only way to send people into your app is to send them to the home screen of your app. But think about it. When you have a website and you run a remarketing strategy, you want to make sure that you bring your people in the right section of your website and not only to this generic homepage. So with deep linking, we're going to be able to send this feature directly into your app, meaning that when you have to send one people into a specific screen within your app, you will be able to do it. So that's why you will need first to make sure with your developer that this feature is available. Then let's have a look on how it works. First on search. Let's imagine that you have a travel app, and one of your users is looking for a hotel in Cambridge. So that's great. This is the perfect micro moment. You want to show an ad, so you show an ad specifically regarding hotels in Cambridge. And when your user click on the app, they are directly sent onto the screen of your app where they can book the hotel in Cambridge. So perfect moment, and you are sure that the conversion rate will be as short as possible, and you will increase the ROI of your campaigns. Next, let's have a look on display. So let's now imagine that you have a retail app, and one of your users just looked for some products. He was interested, went into the cart, and then just decided to wait and leave the app. What we're going to do, we're going to be able actually to store this user into a specific list, and then retarget this user when they are using other apps, and just remind him that he just made a cart, and is just by clicking on this link ready to make the purchase and finalize the purchase. Finally, you also have a lot of different strategies. So that was an example, but also you can make some lists of people that actually made a purchase on a specific product, and you want to cross-sell. So they just bought, I don't know, maybe a game console, and then the next step maybe would be to cross-sell them like a video game related to this game console. Something else as well very important, like I told you, so you need to really engage with some people, with your users, but some will just stop using your app at some point. So that's why we can also use a remarketing list where we're going to store all the people that have not used your app for the last 15 days, for example, and you're going to show them a new message, reminding them that they have the app, and they can maybe discover some new features you have in the app. So this is a lot of example that shows you that also on display you can re-engage and find the right micro moment with your users. Now, regarding the messaging, this is also very important. So as soon as you define the right audience you wanted to target, you also have to think about the right messaging to make sure that your campaign is going to be successful. And here, as you can see, we measured on the study some different metrics that people will look at when thinking about re-engagement strategy. So the first one, the users needs to feel that they are special. So in the message you're going to show them, for example, you can tell them that they're going to be benefiting from some special offer that not every other users will be using. Second thing is they want to be updated on the news you have. So maybe when you have your app, you're going to release some new feature, you're going to invest some money on these new features. You want to make sure that the people are aware of it. So second thing, just make sure that you notify this user that you have a new feature and send the people directly into the app where they can try this new feature. And finally, they want discounts. Especially if you have a retail app, you want to make sure that you're going to close finally the purchase that people have been waiting for a long time. So don't hesitate to try and put some discounts. It will help a lot your click-through rates, it will decrease your cost per click, and it will increase also your conversion rates. So that's it. So just to sum up, you saw with Bruce how important can be an app for your business. Then you saw with Julian that Google is here to help you acquire users and also very high quality users. And finally here, you saw that with Google, you can also tackle the last challenge, which is make sure that you re-engage with your users. So if you want, we have some time now, and we can address all of your questions. Maybe Bruce and Julian can join me. And maybe while you're thinking about the questions you could have, just a reminder, Google will be here to help you with this strategy. So like Bruce told you at the beginning, we'll be working very actively with your actual account manager from AdWords. So for any app acquisition strategies, don't hesitate to ask questions, and we'll jump on calls with you guys.
I don't actually know where the Android is, but does anybody have any specific questions? Oh, is that a question, or is it just the Android? Is it just Android? Any particular questions? No, fairly clear. Good. Yeah, so as we said, we'll be at the workshop tomorrow. We'll be around as well. Whoa. Yeah, we can't catch the ball, South Africans. So, perfect. We'll hand over then to Marie, who will introduce the next section. Thank you.
Thank you.